Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while. I haven't really been feeling too good, as I explained to you that I was diagnosed with a chronic condition in 2022. So yeah, sometimes things are a bit tough, but anyway, welcome. And to my subscribers, I just want to say thank you for subscribing. And those who have just stumbled through my video, I would appreciate if you could just press that, subscribe button. It's free. I hadn't really been on YouTube for a very long time, but I'll try as much as I can also to subscribe to the ones that are subscribing to me. So if you can subscribe, I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers. And, with my condition, working, is just non-existent at the minute because there's so many things that take place. But if you could subscribe, I can just be doing videos like this while I'm at home. It would help. But anyway, if you subscribe, follow, press that notification button and share, really, that would actually be appreciated. Anyway, as when I've been just trying to learn, how to apply makeup, which is one of my passions, in the 50s, because 10 years I spent, trying to find a diagnosis and I couldn't. But anyway, today's video, I just thought, what, I need to do a segment where I get to explain to you guys who exactly I am and what exactly happened. But I think if you go back to my very first videos, I'm talking 4, 5, 6 years ago, I was explaining when I was struggling how to eat. So today that's what I'll be doing. I'll be applying makeup, but explaining exactly, how I came to be where I am at today. So basically, as you know me, I'll be using my Estee Lauder primer. My name is Fabulous T on this channel. So what happened is, over the years, I was just struggling with stomach pain. When you are just one of those people who is constantly ill and you just don't know why. I personally was that person. So I was struggling with stomach pains all the time, and I just didn't understand why. And I'm going to also talk to you about my faith as well. So I grew up in a Christian family. I've always been somebody who believes in God, and no matter what, I do not just call onto God because I am ill. It's my faith. It's exactly, what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I was just struggling with stomach pain and going to the doctors. I've had every test that you can think of someone can have. I have had all those tests in my entire life. And if I tell you, I would date it back to 2014. That's when things started getting worse. 2014, I would go to my GPs, and then complain that my stomach is hurting, and then they would book some MRI scans. And there's a time when they said, because originally I am from Zimbabwe. I remember, back when we was young, we would play in, the ponds, would play in ponds, and those ponds, we didn't know that they had so many illnesses. So in one of the tests that they actually made, they said to me that, oh, you've got what they call schistosomiasis, and in Zimbabwe we call it bilharzia. So bilharzia is when you pass urine, and then at the end of it, there is blood. I remember back when I was still at home in Zimbabwe, I discovered that, and I told my grandparents who raised me, and I was treated. I remember having injections, to treat that bilharzia. So I just thought, you know what? Oh, it was treated, it's gone, no problem. But no, it remained. So they discovered that. And initially, that's what they thought was actually causing me problems, because they say you've got, what do you call it, elevated liver functions. They call them, they did some LFTs, which are liver function tests, and my liver function tests were not really normal, and then that's when they discovered that I had that schistosomiasis. So I was given medication, to whether it's to cure or to treat it, but the medication was so painful. I remember taking two big, they were massive, like these big tablets that I had to take, and you had to take food, and they actually tell you to stay at home because it causes a lot of nausea, and also you feel dizzy when you take it. So that's what I took, and then I thought, maybe my problem is gone, but no. It did not go, and then it got to a point where now, I could not contain my bowels, like I became incontinent. So when I say incontinent, it wasn't just urine. It was like, when you want to go to the toilet and you just have to go, and my stool became so runny, so every time when I would go out, I knew that, I had to be close to where the toilets were, but it wasn't always the case where you can say, oh, you will find a toilet. You guys, exactly what I'm talking about. So I remember me and my cousin's girlfriend, we went to IKEA at one point, and the minute we just got in IKEA, I wanted to use the toilet. So I was running, running like a crazy woman, just looking for the toilet. By the time we got there, things had already gone horribly wrong, so we end up not even, staying in there for too long because I had to go home and change. So I went through hell. I just didn't understand why all that was happening. And, the doctors just kept, telling me so many different, reasons as to what was going on, but the main one being, what I told you, the bilharzia, which they call the schistosomiasis, So anyway, then there's a time when they said to me that they needed to do like a liver biopsy. And you guys, when you have a liver biopsy, it's not done while you are sleeping. A liver biopsy is done while you're up, as you know. So all they just do is to numb the place where they are going to do, the liver biopsy. And then when they numb it, you are actually put under a machine and cameras where they can see exactly. So what they do is they'll mark, the spot where they want to get the liver biopsy from. As much as they numb the place, guys, I have to be completely honest with you, you can feel the pain. especially when the click goes in like that. It it is horrible. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is horrible. So yeah, so that's basically what happened. I had that biopsy, and I can't even remember because it's been years of oh no, I done it at the wrong place. I'm trying to remember everything that I'm learning, but it seems as if I'm forgetting. But don't forget, guys, as well, I'm trying to remember everything that has happened to me so that I can tell you exactly, more about my life and how I ended up having a chronic illness. So after they did that liver biopsy, I don't think anything actually came out of it. So those days I was living in London, and for those who live in London, how the system is when it comes to appointments and hospital appointments in London, and also at the GPs, where I'm going to have to put, this is the foundation. Yeah, cover that with the foundation. You don't even have a GP, so all my information was actually lost in transit, because one doctor will come from, like they call them locum, don't they? All those locum doctors that will be coming, and, all your information is just everywhere. So, yeah, so really and truly, I was just like a yo-yo. I was being drawn from one hospital to the other. You go to one hospital and you are introduced to a consultant, and then you start thinking, oh, you are getting to know the consultant. And then the next thing, they change you, and then you are introduced to another consultant. So you just end up getting confused because you just don't know what is going on. You understand me? So that's exactly what was happening with me, where, I just ended up not knowing what was going on, and who's my doctor, who is not my doctor, who's my consultant, who's not my consultant. It was just awful, So I don't know, for some reason, I always wanted to move out of London, so an opportunity arose where, I could move out of London. So I just thought, hallelujah. I think at that time, God just planned everything, because I think He felt that, Thea, if you want to survive, you're going to have to come out of London. And I just feel like it was God's doing for me to actually move out of London. And it was actually a good thing that I moved out of London. I remember in 2016, when I moved out of London, I was really ill. I was feeling very weak. And, like what I was telling you guys, that I always had, running stomach. So the opportunity came. I remember we had already come to view the house that we were going to live, me and my kids. I've got 2 children, by the way, so we had already viewed the house, and the time to move had come, so it was just me and my daughter. My son was still very young. My daughter was just the one who would help. But you know what? She wasn't as strong. She was actually expecting me to do everything, despite me being ill. So it was just a very tough situation. We ended up, like mixing things up. I remember I lost a lot of documentation, because I just couldn't pack everything. We just managed to do what we could. Luckily, the people, the council supplied some transport for us to be moved to where we was going, so that was actually quite lucky, so we moved, but still I was very, very ill. And can you believe, as much as all the clothes, the fridges, the everything went with the van, I still had to drive. And after, you can imagine, after you had packed all those clothes, and you are not feeling too good, so that's exactly what happened with me, where I drove, I was so weak, and we got to the new place. And I remember it was in 2016, that's when we moved, around July. Summer, it was nice and warm. And, we're just trying to know the area. We didn't really know the area. So the fact also that we got there and we were so tired, we were Googling everything, and then we managed to find, a supermarket. I think it was Asda that we found. So we went to Asda, and then we just bought some food and also salad, and then we ate. So my stomach was getting worse. I remember when we arrived, I can't even remember the day that we arrived. My stomach was getting worse and worse and worse. I could feel it that I was very ill, and we didn't have a bed. I remember I got rid of the bed that I had, in London. So we didn't have so many things. So we had one sofa, I think, that we carried, so that at least we could have somewhere to sit. So I was just sleeping on there, and I could feel myself deteriorating, but the funny thing, guys, is I never even thought for a second to say, let me go to the doctors. Why I was not even thinking, so I don't even know. So, like I said to you, I am so into God. I believe in God really, really seriously. So I think that time, God noticed that this person, if they actually remain in the condition that they are going to die. So I think the situation then escalated. So when it escalated, I ended up saying to my children that, what, I need to call for an ambulance because I really am not feeling too good. And then they were even so surprised, like, is it that bad? And yeah, it was that bad. It was really that bad, but I was just trying to be stubborn, and I think maybe that was actually the beginning of my journey to actually being diagnosed, so it is long, guys. I am going to do this in segments, so tomorrow we are going to carry on because I'm going to explain everything. I think about 5 or 6 segments may actually come out of this, so I'm going to leave it here because I don't want it to be way too long. So I'm going to explain to you when I spoke to the kids and tell them that I needed to contact the ambulance, what happened from then, going forward. So guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, put the notification button. I am trying to get to 1,000 followers. It would be really, really helpful, because my energy levels are constantly low. So when I at least get to a 1,000 followers, as you know, guys, I'll be able to monetize my videos. So if you find it within yourself to press a subscribe button, I'll also do the same. So I'll see you guys, on the next one, when I tell you what happened after I told the kids that, I think I need to go to hospital. See you on the next one.